Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, January 8th, 2024. I am Rochelle Baptiste with the details. The 2024 budget has been presented this time by this country's Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology, Camilo Gonzalez, in the temporary Parliament building at Calico. The presentation of the 2024 Appropriations Bill and debate comes after the December 19th presentation and debate on the 2024 estimates of revenue and expenditure for the 2024 fiscal year, totaling $1,616,496,574 or 1.6 billion EC dollars. This figure represents an 11.8% increase over the approved budget in 2023. Just before the budget presentation, Governor General Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan delivered a throne speech in which she noted that the year 2023 has been marked by significant economic recovery and great achievements for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but that it has also been a period of extraordinary challenges for the global community with the impact of war and conflict in several regions of the world. Her Excellency noted that while we yearn for more human means of resolving differences, we must be thankful for the peace that we enjoy in our tiny corner of the globe. And in his presentation of the 2024 Appropriations Bill, Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology, Camilo Gonzalez, told Parliament that the developmental triumphs of 2023 paled in comparison to the government plans for 2024, which he said are breathtaking in their scope and their transformative potential.
This year, we will host Cricket World Cup T20 games after a $35 million upgrade to our sporting facilities. This year, we will host the Leaders Summit for CELAC, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, the largest and most significant international political gathering ever attempted in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This year, we will see the opening of the Holiday Inn Express Hotel and the Sandals Resort, adding almost 400 quality rooms to our tourism product. This year, we will distribute $27 million worth of supplies, equipment, and assistance to our farmers and fishers, one of the most significant one-time injections of support to aid agricultural production. This year, we will expand the St. Vincent Beach Athletic Facility with additional seating, lighting, and administrative buildings. This year, we will begin or complete construction of over 19 miles of road in more than 58 separate locations nationwide. This year, we will construct some 250 houses and repair 500 more homes for vulnerable Vincentians. This year, we will begin construction of the modern hospital, the modern acute care hospital at Arnersville. We will begin construction of the Marriott Resort at Mount Wynn. We will begin construction of 7 clinics and polyclinics nationwide. We will begin construction of cultural hubs in Bellevue, Pittibodel, and Trumacum. We will begin construction of state-of-the-art secondary schools at Sandy Bay and around the corner in Brighton. We will begin construction of a multipurpose community center in Diamond. We will accelerate construction of the critically important Sandy Bay Sea Defense. We will improve airport infrastructure in Beckway, Union Island, and Canouan. We will welcome a major new airline to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and increased international flights from existing carriers.
The finance minister said the government will help to cushion the impacts of inflation on Vincentians and usher in fundamental reforms to ensure the long-term sustainability of the National Insurance Services, the NIS, and generate even more economic growth and create more significantly permanent jobs of quality across St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
As part of a budget that allocates a record amount of money to a record number of projects and a number of far-reaching policy reforms that we will outline over the course of our debate this week. The budget being presented today is one of a country on the right track. Budget 2024 sticks to the plan of accelerating our unmistakable people-centered developmental momentum and building ambitiously on the gains of recent years. This is the budget of a country with a growing economy, a growing record of tangible gains to benefit our people, and a growing confidence in our collective capacity to implement our forward-looking and transformative agenda.
Minister Gonzalez also told Parliament that while the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has adjusted its international economic projections downwards, projecting a 2.9% global growth in 2024, the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is expected to outperform CARICOM and the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
While there are some discrepancies between the IMF and ECLAC reports, both organizations expect St. Vincent and the Grenadines to experience growth between 5 and 5.5% this year, in addition to the strong growth that we experienced in 2023. It is absolutely important to recognize that St. Vincent and the Grenadines' economic growth in 2023 and projected growth in 2024 is not merely the growth that happens when you emerge from a downturn. Our post-COVID rebound took place back in 2021 and 2022. The growth in the Vincentian economy for 2023 and the projected growth in 2024 is real, significant, and helping to drive the developmental transformation that is taking place in our country. Our current growth spurt, but more importantly, our sustained development is part and parcel of the Prime Minister's plan to create a modern, competitive, post-colonial economy that is at once local, regional, and global. We have a plan, we are sticking to our plan, and our plan is working for the benefit of all Vincentians.
We will bring you more on the 2024 budget presentation and the Governor General's throne speech in tomorrow's newscast. In other local news now, we hear that the final report from the Wages Council was submitted to Cabinet on Friday with the recommendation that $1,000 EC a month minimum be paid to anyone who is working full-time or $50 a day, and part-time workers to be paid no less than $7 an hour. This was noted by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, who on WeFM Issues at Hand program on Sunday said after consultations throughout the country, the Council submitted to Cabinet some recommendations in December last year. However, they timidly recommended a daily payment of no less than $50 per day, among other recommendations. The Prime Minister said the Council was asked to go back and look at certain things and submitted the revised recommendations last Friday.
Because clearly, if you decide to hire somebody for 4 hours a day to work from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, you get the best part of the day and you pay them $20 if it was only $5 an hour. That can't be pretty much fair. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So they have an hourly recommendation also. What are the categories which are mainly going to be affected? I think P. John has indicated that domestic workers, some persons who are working in stores in Kingston, retail stores, some kitchens, including kitchens operated by the government in the primary schools, cleaners in government, other casual workers. It's not going to affect, in my judgment, the agricultural workers so much, because even though there's a minimum of $40, if you work in a shelter situation in agriculture, hardly anybody goes to work for $40 in agriculture. You see what I mean? So in real terms, it may not affect that one so much. But those who are paying just the bare minimum, obviously, they would be affected. And remember, all these are minimum. You below which you will not legally be able to pay.
Prime Minister Gonzalez said while some places are currently paying just the minimum, he believes that the plan increases will have a knock-on effect on other minimum wages.
Person who is at $1,000 now, their number would also go up in some proportionate manner. So it would have a knock-on effect on other minimum wages along the way. You take domestics. You have a domestic worker in the existing regulation. And by the way, we had four. This is our fourth since we're in office. Fourth minimum wage regulations we are publishing. We did one in 2003. Then now this one is the fourth one. The last one was 2017. And nobody will get less than a 20% increase from 2017. So even except the call centers, which started after that. Call centers started in 2019, early 2020. And that's a 15% increase, but nobody there also will get less than $1,000. You understand how the broad regulations would be?
But my calculation is that it's almost 1,100. I get 1083 that they'll move to per month as a effective minimum wage for those at $50 a day. I work at a 5-day week. 50 times 5 times 52 divided by 12 gives me 1083.
Yes. Now, in relation to you'll see the regulations when they're published with the details.
And PM Gonzalez said the regulations for the new minimum wage are expected to be published within a month. In a report published in November last year, the Caribbean Society for Human Resource Professionals listed St. Vincent and the Grenadines among the lowest paid countries in the Caribbean, with 73.3% of salaries being below the average market value across the region. President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, says all workers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines must understand that Social Security is universal, which is a fundamental human right, and the benefits they have worked hard for must be protected. Robinson was speaking at a joint news conference hosted by the Teachers Union, the Public Service Union, and the Police Welfare Association last Thursday.
Anybody, any employer, whether government or in the private sector, to tamper with your benefit after you would have served with distinction for many years, and you're now moving into an area where your major supply of income has been more or less curtailed. You want to ensure that you enjoy a decent standard of living. And that is why it is a human right, because you expect persons who have reached the age of retirement to enjoy life. And that is one of the principles of the International Labour Organization, because you want persons to be able to afford their health, the food, among other important needs. So the issue of poverty of the age is something that we would have coined a very long time ago, which we want to avoid.
Making it clear that they are not against pension reform, as it is inevitable. Robinson said it, however, must happen in a framework where there is affordability by the employer and employee, transparency in how the funds are managed, fairness and sustainability.
So whatever reform is done, and as my brother Boucher would have elucidated, most of the investments that the NIS went into, I'm saying investments, because even the monies are used, that is part of the mandate, to invest. Most of these investments did not bring back any real income. It is quite synonymous with what happened to Colonial Life and British American Insurance. And that is why we have studied this thing very carefully, and we are in a position now of authority to say to our members out there, the workers and the nation as a whole, because there are other forces out there who depend on workers, whether you're pensionable or you're still in the system. It has a multiplying effect. If you're able to give somebody $100 monthly and now you retire, you're getting less money. So you have dependencies. And those who have children in the age coming close to retirement, that's another responsibility. So the point of the matter is, as my brother would have spoken, one of the recommendations that the actuaries would have made is that you must have at 3 times your projected expense. And that has not been happening. You must have that in your reserve. So if your expenses, your annual expenses, say $3 million, you must have at least $9 million in your reserve. It is like a mitigation to avoid like any eventualities. You know, you have monies there. Because when the NAS is saying to us, you have about $400 million there put aside, and that would end in 2034 if nothing happened, if no real reform would have taken place that would benefit pensioners, then that is something workers cannot take for granted.
Robinson said the unions and the Police Welfare Association have taken the lead to educate their members to get their input and put them together as part of the recommendations put forward to the government, which he said seems as though they are being pushed aside.
No, this can't be business as usual. Regardless if you support the government, the party in power, whatever, this is your bread and butter issue. And you have to stand and stand tall. The first mark of a man is that he stands. The issue of the public service pension, we cannot allow the government to tamper with that, and the brother alluded to it. It has constitutional protection. It's an enshrined clause in the Constitution. And you can't go and tamper with that without a referendum, without a 2/3 majority in the House. So if we keep our eyes closed and we sleep while these things are happening, you know, government now seem to have this way of going and passing bills and doing whatever, and in a smart way trying to tamper with the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. We can't allow that to happen. And I want to reinforce the point also. We have said there should be no punitive measures. Probably this is something we may have to challenge the government and the NIS. You cannot take a person's salary, okay? The NIS put into an account, and when you reach the age you're ready for it, you're telling me I have to wait 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, when it's my money you took and put it aside. And if I take it all year, you imposing a penalty which is 6% for each year, and now the government and the NIS proposing to increase it by 3% and add on 2 more years, from 65 to 67 years. So if a person have to lose 9%, from 6% to 9%, that is almost half of your pension you're going home with, half. And the ILO said that you must enjoy a decent standard of living. So we are adamant that this should not happen, but it is left to you, the workers out there. If you want to allow them to go with it, that's you. We could only provide the leadership and the guidance, and we're giving you the information. And you have to use your critical minds to know who is for you or not.
And veteran Guyanese and Caribbean trade unionist Lincoln Lewis has issued a call for this country's Prime Minister, Dr. Al Gonzalez, to be removed as the interlocutor of any discussion between Guyana and Venezuela on the border controversy. Last week, Prime Minister Gonzalez wrote to Guyana President Irfan Ali and his Venezuelan counterpart Nicolas Maduro to explain that a photograph that surfaced of him standing behind a map of Venezuela that included the disputed Essequibo region was taken in December 2022, and he was unaware of the depiction with the map until recently. The government of Guyana appears to have accepted the explanation, with Vice President Barrett Jagdeo even referencing photographs that he has taken before with questionable characters. But trade unionist Lincoln Lewis, in a letter to the press, said that Guyana government needs to rethink its position on having Prime Minister Gonzalez continue as an interlocutor. President Ali's government is called on to rethink its position on the continued presence of Gonzalez as interlocutor. All Guyanese must demand he removes himself, for he is a clear and present threat to our territorial integrity, Lewis wrote. He said the issue cannot just be swept aside as a mistake on the part of Prime Minister Gonzalez. The trade unionist said, error or no error, the stakes are too high to permit the presumed mistakes of Gonzalez. To think it is even possible he was not careful enough, he had a right to know what he was holding up, what it represented. He is original leader. He had a right to ask and make the appropriate decision, which was to excuse himself from that photograph. Lewis went on to say, holding a photograph that violates the sovereignty of his CARICOM sister country must be seen as a sacrilegious. There must be no compromise. Lewis also questioned the reason behind PM Gonzalez and his Dominican counterpart Roosevelt Scarrett remaining as permanent interlocutors on the discussions between Guyana and Venezuela, even after they no longer hold a position as president of CELAC and chairman of CARICOM. According to the trade unionists, what the section of the Argyle Declaration says is that this matter has been placed in the hands of individuals and not institutions, which is considered very dangerous. Lewis said, for while the institutions can be held accountable, these men in their personal capacity cannot be. He reasoned, if tomorrow they no longer hold their positions, why must they remain involved and not the institutions when it is their offices that give them entry into the matter? St. Vincent and the Grenadines hosted a meeting last month between the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela, giving birth to the Argyle Declaration in the height of mounting tensions between the two countries over Venezuela's continued claims of Guyana's Essequibo region and its ongoing objection to the case filed by Guyana before the International Court of Justice. The wreckage of the aircraft, which crashed last Thursday off Bequia, killing all 4 people on board, including a famous Hollywood actor and his 2 young daughters, was recovered today. A news release from the police on the incident said the small one-engine aircraft, registration number 4023B, owned and piloted by Robert Sachs of Bequia, crashed into the sea 1 nautical mile west of Petit Nevis sometime after midday on Thursday, January 4th, 2024. There were 3 passengers on board, namely Christian Klepser, 51 years old, from the United States of America, and his 2 daughters, Medita and Annie Klepser, 10 and 12 years old. The police say the aircraft went airborne from the J.F. Mitchell Airport in Paget Farm about 12:11 p.m. for St. Lucia as its final destination. Moments after taking off, the aircraft experienced difficulties and plummeted into the ocean. Fishermen and divers from Paget Farm, Bequia, went to the scene of the incident in their boats to render assistance and recovered the 4 bodies from the wreckage of the aircraft at sea and handed them over to the Coast Guard personnel at the scene. The bodies were transported to St. Vincent on board the Coast Guard vessel and were taken to the Kingston mortuary, where post-mortem examinations are expected to be carried out to ascertain the cause of death. The RSVG Police Force expresses condolences to all who are negatively affected by the tragic incident. The RSVG Police Force say it will update the public as more information is gathered, noting that the investigation is ongoing. The Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority has also launched their investigation into the incident to determine the likely cause of the crash. The authorities say more information will be released to the public after the ECAA's inquiry is completed. And with the start of a new school term, students across St. Vincent and the Grenadines are being encouraged to get involved in some of the extracurriculum activities that are being offered during the second school term. The encouragement comes from Minister of Education Curtis King, who in a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today expresses best wishes to the students and teachers across the country who today start the new school term and the first day of school in 2024.
I wish to welcome back to school all of our teachers and students. It is the beginning of the second term. It is a new calendar year. So I want to wish you all the best for 2024. I certainly hope that you had a wonderful Christmas season and that the short break has renewed your energy level and that you are returning to school full of enthusiasm. I always say to students, the second term, it's very important, not only for its academic schedule, but also because it provides our students with an opportunity to display their talents in other extracurricular activities, especially sports. I want to therefore encourage our students to participate fully in the various sporting programs that would be available throughout the second term. Whether you're representing your individual houses or your respective schools. But let us all continue to work together. Remember, education is important to your overall personal growth and development.
The Education Minister used the opportunity to remind teachers of the critical role they have to play in their students' life.
Teachers, I encourage you once again to be patient with our students, to work closely with both the students themselves and their parents and guardians. Let us all work together to build and continue to develop our education system. Remember, we are about transforming our society, and we can only do that if we enhance the human resource capacity of our people, and education plays a critical role in that process. So, see your task as being very important, and we at the Ministry of Education do recognize the importance of your role in this whole process. So once again, welcome back to school, and I wish you all the best for the new calendar year 2024.
Mrs. Princess Bibi of Fountain today joined the Centenarian Club, turning 100 years old. In an interview with SVG-TV News, the mother of 11 children credits her healthy eating habits and prayers for keeping her alive to reach the milestone. At a celebration event at her home in Fountain, Mrs. Bibi was surrounded by several of her daughters and caretaker.
That's everything. And my life is all right, and children treating me good. And I'm happy in the Lord.
Thanks be to God. And her favorite food is boiled profit and boil up with fish and chicken and everything. That's her favorite food. To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear mama. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now? How old are you now? How old are you now? Happy birthday to you. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hooray! Wait a minute, girl. 100 today! Happy birthday, Mom.
The proud daughters described their mother as loving and caring, who worked very hard to take care of all of them and ensuring that they had a good education.
Yeah, she love us. Every church is to take us. Send us by all church. She says one God. She worked very hard. And she said, I will live. She claimed it. She said, I will live to hear the judgment blow. And I will live for 100 and add. And she said, I love my children then. And I helped the lady work hard. And she was a very good cook. She used to cook all about for wedding, iron, and go out and just to send us to school and take care of us. Because my father was her own. Yeah. She do all her best for us. And we love her very much.
Just thank God for my mother. Because since I growing up small, I never see my mother dirty her hands to do nothing out of God. She worked very hard to support us as a mother. Without even say the help of our father, but her husband, he work the garden and bring in the food. But like fish and those flour, she is the woman who go in and get those things out of her money. So she works all the time for her money in her young days to see us.
Through school, church, every wedding, she met the church, paid the $2 susu, so we could get the money to buy clothes for the wedding. And the susu gave her all these things. $2 susu. She ironed for people, she cleaned for people, she remember them things, but she had not to, right? No. She ironed, she cleaned, she worked in the garden, she plant potatoes, and so she always on the go for the health and strength. She works real hard.
And I really truly thank God for keeping my mother alive today. Thank God she have life. She couldn't open her eyes this morning without the Lord.
Mrs. BB's caretaker also spoke glowing of her, noting that besides a little memory loss, diabetes and stomach burns at times, the 100-year-old lady is very healthy and active.
I am her caretaker, and she's so loving. When me tell she me not come back in, and she said, what? That come back? You have to stay here with me. She said, me have to see about she until she die. So me make a joke, me said, me not make it a promise. So every time she does, me and she just goes well. And it's a loving lady, yes. She loving. Diabetes.
That's the only problem, and she's got also with her stress. Yeah, that's
so I guess she developed diabetes from old age recently.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
She didn't have all these complications before.
We must hard starch food. We don't really know, but we rebuke it in the name of Jesus against her. Because we get all the ages bring on a lot. The more older you get, different things happen.
Yeah, because people normally get these diseases from their younger.
Yeah.
So
she gets it when she old.
Right.
We wish her a happy birthday and many, many more to come.